Greetings, everyone. All right, so um, I decided to not do the two-way video. I'm sure that really hurt your feelings because I know that you love to look at my face. I'm just kidding. But some of this PowerPoint, I couldn't get the video to not block out things that you need to see, so we're just gonna leave that off this time. But this PowerPoint is about the compare and contrast essay, which is your next stop. So let's get into it. Why compare contrast? Well, to explain, you might compare and contrast kinds of food, for instance, to help someone understand which foods need to be refrigerated and which can be stored in a cabinet or a bowl on the counter. Which, I mean, come on, we all look up stuff like that on YouTube or we just Google it. Well, that's what this is. A compare contrast is exactly what they did to find this information. You might write one to evaluate. So you might compare and contrast kinds of food to show why one kind of food or brand of food is better than another. For example, apples are a better snack than butter. And I mean, I'm talking literally, like if you ate a stick of butter, that'd be, a little excessive. I'm just saying. So choosing a topic. This is probably going to be the hardest part for you, to be honest, and it's just because there's a ton of stuff you could pick. But when you choose items to compare and contrast, make sure that you choose items that have similarities. That's going to be the easiest thing to do. You have to choose things that will make sense for comparison and contrast. For example, like you can't compare crayons with a truck. I'm not trying to doubt your ability, but I'm just saying it's going to make it a whole lot easier if you compare things that are comparable. And also be sure to compare things that belong together. So crayons to pencils or pens, all of those are writing utensils. Or trucks and cars, those are vehicles. So things like that is the best bet. And then writing. As you begin to organize your writing, it's important to make sure that you balance the information about the items that you're comparing and contrasting. So whatever you bring out on one side of it, you have to bring out on the other side of it. And that may narrow down your topic. Because if you can't find the information or you don't know the information about that, then you might have to kind of back up and punt a little bit. So these are the 4 strategies that are going to be the ones that you can pick from, and these are the best ones to use anyway. So you've got whole to whole, similarities to differences. I apologize. Subject by subject or point by point or feature to feature. So this is how they look. Oh, look at that! We got an Easter egg. So sometimes in my PowerPoints, after you've gotten kind of into the semester, I start giving you bonus points. So these bonus points come in the forms of Easter eggs. Yes, of course, it's a way for me to know whether or not you actually looked at this video, but it's also just for fun. So I'll explain a little bit on the last slide, but the question for the Easter egg is, what came first, the chicken or the egg? And how do you know? So a sample prompt, which is better, the Harry Potter movies or the Harry Potter books? So if I was going to do this and do whole to whole, I would literally write everything about one item and then everything about the other. So if you look right here, what I've done is I've said, okay, you could set your paper up in a way that, the first paragraph is your introduction. Second paragraph is the item 1 focus. Third paragraph is item 2 focus. And the fourth paragraph is your conclusion. So, for instance, say everything about the characters, setting, and plot for the book. And then that would be your item 1. And then everything about the characters, setting, and plot for the movie. So you would just have those 2 things split up like that. But you would do it whole to whole picture versus whole picture. Then if you want to do similarities to differences, the easiest way to do this is to have your introduction. Then write about all of the similarities about the items that you are choosing to compare, and then all of the differences of the items that you choose to compare, and then do your conclusion. So for instance, you might explain that the characters and plot were similar in both the book and the movie in one section. That might just be paragraph 2, whatever it takes. And in the next section, you explain, or next section or next paragraph, whichever the case may be, you can explain that the settings were different. So the book took place during the summer while the movie took place during the winter, things like that. And again, that's something that you know if you've read the book and seen the movie, and that's why this is more of a personal choice on this essay. So subject by subject. In this structure, you write a separate section about each subject. So you use the same points for each subject and arrange the points in the same order. So these are the most common for those short, uncomplicated papers. But if you're going to make complicated points about each structure, then use a point-by-point method. Those are the best to use for this. So point by point, in this structure, you explain one point of comparison before you ever move to the next point. So, for example, you would have your introduction, and then in your second paragraph, or however many it takes, you would write about the characters in the books and the movies in one section. Then you would write about the settings in the book and movies in the next section. So if your focus of the comparison is about the character and the, in general, then you're going to take this point underneath your intro, those paragraphs, or that one paragraph depending, and just talk about the characters in both the book and the movie. And then your second point will not touch on the characters at all. It'll go to something else, such as the setting, and you're going to talk about how the setting compares in both the book and the movie, and then you just bring it all together in the conclusion. So real quick, wanted to give you a little cheat sheet. Transition words. When you're talking about comparing things, these are great words to use. So when I'm talking about transition words, I'm talking about like at the beginning of the sentence, maybe you say, as in the same manner, we have da 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 da. Or, in the middle of the sentence, if you're transitioning with a dependent clause or something, instead of saying however, you would say, if you're comparing, you would say something like likewise or similarly, something like that. But if you're going to contrast, these are the better words to use. So that is just to kind of help you maybe get you guided in the right way as far as your writing. And then finally, these are your questions for this week's discussion board. And please understand, I am going to be honest with you, we are required to do discussion boards, but I genuinely like seeing what you think and if you have any questions and things like that. Because it's easier for me to catch if they're in a discussion board. So in order to get some extra bonus points, I did hide that Easter egg. Once you find it, if you skipped over it or whatever, you might want to go back. Make sure you put your answer to the Easter egg in your discussion board. Answer the questions by the number in your post. That's going to be the easiest way. So literally when you post, I just want you to put number 1, answer. Number 2, give me the answer. Number 3, answer. That way, if anybody sees your post, they can't get those bonus points, as far as cheating is concerned. So 1, what if any questions do you still have regarding the differences and or structure options of the compare contrast essay? Honestly, you can also here, you can mention maybe which one of these structures that you're considering using. That is totally up to you. But when you do your post for your rough draft, I'm going to actually have you state in your initial post which one of these structures you just decided on so that whoever peer edits it can actually, kind of gear their mind in the right way. And then 2, since we are moving into research next as our final destination, haha, see what I did there? What concerns do you have moving into that section of the class? To be honest, the research section is one of the biggest. It's always been that way in 1101 and even 1102. So I deliberately did all of these essays up front so that we can spend the next 2 to 3 weeks really trying to understand the research papers. So you'll also get a video of me trying to give you some tidbits and some tips on how to write a thesis, or what should be included, what shouldn't, things like that. So you just kind of be thinking on that end of things. I will tell you that your research paper has to be thesis proof. You have to prove something to me. And I'll give you examples. But if you want to be thinking about maybe a topic, then that's fine too, because that is something that you will be asked so that I can keep a log of it so I know who to help with what. And then number 3, finally, what is the answer to the Easter egg? Woohoo! So I know that this video is about 10 minutes, and I normally don't like to do that, but this is going to completely take care of this third and almost final essay. So I hope this helps. Again, please reach out if you have any questions. They are currently working on our grade book thing, so maybe everything will be taken care of, but don't worry. I have a hard copy of all of your grades. I just know it's very inconvenient when you can't see it. So if they don't fix it soon, then I'll reach out to you individually. All right, I hope you have a great week and have at it, guys.